Battle show here on the Extreme Improv Xstreamed YouTube channel, as well as the Geek Battle YouTube channel. Head over to youtube.com/@Geek Battle, smash that subscribe button, and tonight we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to talk about a bunch of geeky stuff. We may play a geeky game, I'm not even sure at the moment, but we will determine which one of us is the geek of the week. Now, on the show tonight, there is myself, David Postansky. There is Gerald. Say hello to the people.
Hello, everybody. I don't have a geek fact yet.
Don't worry.
So I'll have to come up with
that is, it's all good. Right, and we also have Marty. Say hello to the people.
Hi, everybody.
Now, how are you, Marty, by the way?
I'm fine.
Good. So, like, literally as we click to go live, you emerged here. Oh, hang on. We have, look at this. Like, the party is just getting started. Andy, hello. Say hello to the people. We are live.
Hi, peeps. How's everyone?
Well, good. That means I wasn't the latest.
No. Like, this...
I actually said
You did what to who now?
no, I was trying to get into the other Zoom link, but it was somebody waiting for a host to start. I'm like, well, you guys already said you were on. I'm looking, so I went to the wrong Zoom link.
Yeah, no, so did I. It's terrible when that happens. Right, but guys, yeah, like it's been an interesting week. Now, has anyone here seen the Marvels yet? No. Okay, I'm going to be seeing the Marvels. My intention is to see it tomorrow, and then I'll be able to give a full report on it. We were just saying that we haven't heard good things. It doesn't sound like the Marvels is going to do that well at the box office, at least. I've heard some people say that, you know, it's fun, but we were saying about like how many of these things just end up on Disney Plus, and like is ultimately like the problem that a lot of these things have now is just like the streaming stuff that's killing everything. What anyone else thoughts?
So I actually finally watched Barbie, and similarly to me, is sort of the same type of thing. Like it wasn't something that I had to go and see when it was in the theater, so I didn't. And I watched it at home, and I thought it was decent. And I think I felt that way with Super Mario Brothers, and those two are the two movies this year so far that have broke $1 billion in receipts. So, and then again, to your point about the streaming services, it seems like every time you turn around, something's literally out in the theaters, and maybe 6-8 weeks later it's on streaming, and unless it's something that has sort of most of the stuff this year has not, you know, I haven't gone. So.
Yeah.
It's obvious that the movie industry is in trouble. Sorry, there seems to be a really bad lag.
No, don't worry about it. These things happen. Like, is the lag with me, guys? Because like I keep saying stuff, and then you'll just look at me like, you know, it's like I've got my face on sideways, and I'm taking it personally here. I'm just like I'm really suffering with it. Everyone who's just listening on the audio version, like, you know, I don't know. It just sounds like we've stopped talking to each other. But we are here, and
it seems fine to me.
Oh, so you are just ignoring me then? Right, no, I'm joking. Okay, no, that's fine. There might be a bit of lag. This is the joys of StreamYard. It comes in and out. But I completely agree. Like, I think the cinema is in trouble, and I think streaming stuff has just made it so everyone can just wait because you'll be able to see stuff soon. I think the main reason, like, that people may feel that they actually have to watch something in a timely fashion is that they keep taking stuff off of streaming service and cancelling stuff entirely. So, like, if you watched Willow or whatever it was that was on a year ago, I watched the first 2 episodes, like, yeah, I'll get back to this at some point. Not anymore, it's gone! So, you know, that's the only real incentive to see things, is that eventually, if they bomb, then they're just going to try and write them off as a tax break or whatever.
And to your point on that, the tax break thing, there was a couple big movies, or expected movies that were coming out, and there actually is one of the, I don't know, senators or representatives in the United States is saying that they need to look into Hollywood because of these basically write-offs, and the movie they were pointing to was, I can't remember, Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah. Well,
Batgirl they talked about as well, Wile E. Coyote. And then to that point, Disney is having challenges with their streaming services. So like they've, I guess, with their most recurrent quarterly results that they showed, they're not doing that great on streaming. So what they're effectively doing is they're going to buy out the remainder, I think, Comcast owns of Hulu, and they are going to combine Disney Plus and Hulu into a single thing, which I'm sure they'll do that, and then they'll bump up the price again as well. But yeah, sorry.
I was going to say, this is the thing, and I've said this before. In the UK, Disney Plus and Hulu has always just been one thing. Like, and it's cheap, and I wouldn't pay much more for it. So, if they suddenly charge double or half as much again to get both in the States, they might try to do that in the UK, and I think a lot of people will just jump off of it at that rate because we're already used to just paying like that one price. But all of the stuff which I assume comes on Hulu, like dramas and just like random movies, like all of the catalogue of like the Fox stuff and everything, we already get it on Disney Plus. Like, I'd recommend any of you, if you've got Disney Plus, to like get one of those VPN things and just watch the British version, because it sounds like we get a lot more on it.
Like, we watch Hulu a lot. We don't watch. I can't remember last time we watched something like Disney Plus.
Did any of you see Loki season 2?
Not yet.
No, one.
Okay, if we haven't seen the,
I'm in a very
Mixed.
anti-Marvel MC. I'm in a very anti-MCU.
you sound a bit quiet to me, Marty. But yeah, like the MCU, it's got problems. There are problems with the MCU. But guys, I am determined to reignite everyone's interest in the MCU. I have a trailer for you guys. I don't know if you've seen it. There is a trailer which has been released like a couple of hours ago or something of What If Season 2. So I'm gonna bring this up so we can react to it. Obviously, we're gonna have like our shield of justice, like covering this shiznit up. But here we can see What If Season 2, and there's some kid, and then we see Ant-Man, and it looks like the first season, which kind of looks like a cel-shaded video game kind of thing. And I guess they've got a lot of the actual voice actors. It looks like Hela is back. And I didn't really get a sense. It looks like they're trying to do something epic. So whereas the first season, they gave you the sense that each episode was completely disconnected, this trailer makes it look like it is a bit more of like a continuous story. I know you can't see it super properly, but any thoughts of what you are seeing, anyone? I'm going to keep talking because, again, I'll put this out as an audio version, so if we don't speak, we don't exist.
It seems fine to me. I mean, again, it's the what if thing, so they're going to have whatever they have on it and be animated. So I think it's fine. You know, I don't think there's too much they've done in the regular MCU that hasn't lent itself to this. So I think it's a good, area to do things. I did want to mention, David, that I heard that on Facebook it's not showing, and then on YouTube some people are having issues.
What, us?
Yes. So
Ugh.
it seems fine to me, but just as a heads
Okay,
up.
we're definitely on YouTube. We should be on more places than normal. So we should be on... we're definitely on Facebook. We're definitely on YouTube because I'm monitoring them both. But we'll also be on all of the Geek Battle channels as well as the Extreme Improv ones. So I'll do a little bit of investigating. Let's have a look. So it might not be working on Twitch, I'll be honest. Okay, but I'll do a bit of investigation. So look, here we see Happy Hogan. But the big thing about this trailer is that it's coming, I think, December 22nd. And there's a new episode on for like the 9 days of the rest of the year. So what's your reaction to that, anyone? Disney are literally banging this whole thing out over, like, each day. They're getting it out there, so they're not saving it for week by week. Do you think this will actually help its fortunes, or...?
I don't think it'll have any impact at all. I think they're hoping it's going to help their fortunes, but I don't think it drives enough for it to impact anything for them.
I actually think gonna make it less viewers, not more by any stretch.
Well, there's so much going on over Christmas, like a New Year. It's like, yep. And obviously you don't have to see it live. You can watch it like 2 hours later or the next day or whatever. That's not a problem. But I just think that if they'd put it like December 1st through to December 9th, I think it would have a better chance than starting it and, like, there's going to be an episode of this on Christmas Day. Who's going to be like, oh, hang on, leave the turkey to go cold for half an hour. We need to watch What If, you know.
I think they're...
Marty, I literally can't hear you. I don't. Before, when you were, I thought you were actually doing a thing, so you were like, and we couldn't hear you. But now I actually think that we just couldn't hear you. I can't hear a thing, genuinely. Not a word.
Me?
No, Marty.
Oh, Marty, yeah, we can't hear you, Marty.
Yeah. And he's
you want to do a dubbing? One of us should do a dubbing for him.
We should. You know, we should.
I think one of the things, too, is Disney. I mean, if you look back at the last year or 2 years of Disney, they've maybe even 3 years of Disney, they've not made the best decisions. And I think part of it is they're still holding on to the boom, if you will, of streaming and a lot of the other stuff during COVID. And now you sort of have almost like they have hybrid work environments. This is almost like a hybrid entertainment environment, and they really haven't come around to it. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, no, I do agree. Okay, Marty, give us a level. He can't even see us, can he? But you didn't say words. How do we know if you're working? You're not a ventriloquist. Look, what's going on here, guys?
I don't think he sees us.
He doesn't see us. He's going to be like, this doesn't work. I'll just take all my clothes off like normal. And no, he's gone. Right, okay. So, anyway. I think the streaming service stuff is literally killing it. When I was young, like, a movie would come out and you'd see it come on to television. You'd see it come on to, like, satellite television, which I guess might be like, I don't know what the equivalent is in the States. I'm sure you have satellite, but I'm not sure, to be honest. But it would be like, it would come on there a year and a half later. And then it would come on regular television, like 3 years after it's been at the cinema. And you'd be like, oh, wow, I remember this. And then it would seem like this big deal that it's got a premiere. But now...
Well, even like Blockbuster Video, when they were in, I mean, they set it up so that they had pretty much free reign for, at least the first year or so on, and then eventually...
What is going on tonight, guys? Are you okay? Was that you, Andy? What happened?
I dropped the thing I was drinking.
It fell out the window. Oh dear. Okay, let's do a quick check here. This is going well. Marty, can we hear you?
I can hear you. Can you?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
So.
You don't want me on the show, just tell me.
No, we desperately do. Now, Gerald, you were saying a point, and then we're going to come to Marty's collected thoughts on everything that's happened up to this point so far.
Oh, I'm good right now.
Oh, great. Okay, Marty, tell us things.
Well, I'm very wary of the MCU right now. Because I didn't like the Ms. Marvel show, I don't feel like going and seeing the Marvels. I was kind of half and half on Loki until you posted what you did. And so now I'm kind of like, I don't really care if I watch it or not. And What If? I feel like that show is like the What If comic. It's mostly misses, and every once in a while you get a hit.
Yeah.
though.
Oh,
Because they because of the popularity of the show, they've started collecting the old what ifs in trade paperback, and I picked 2 or 3. I just like several volumes, and I picked them up at a comic shop not too long ago and started looking through them, and just realized how many of them were really lame, and how few of them were really good.
Ah. Well, the trailer for this what if thing, like, check it out properly later yourselves. But
Okay.
it looked like an Avengers story. And it showed a bit where it's like, oh, Odin's going to do something. And Black Panther, it got Black Panther, who I assume under the mask was still T'Challa, just obviously voiced by someone else. And it's like, okay, by doing this, even though they said they weren't going to recast T'Challa, it looks like they might be. It just looked like an Avengers story. And it just looked like it was in a different continuity. Whereas the original, like, this is a weird thing with what Disney are doing with the Marvel stuff recently, because, and especially the multiverse stuff, because this what if, it just like, well, Hela's still alive because it's an alternative Hela. And then all of these characters, it's just like, well, this is a separate continuity, and we've got a story. It didn't have, when you saw the first season of What If, and especially the trailers for it, it was like, what if it was Captain Peggy Carter? And you could see how that was something completely different than having Captain America. And it was like, what if they were all zombies? And you knew that was something different. But this, it just looks like, well, this is just a alternative storyline. There isn't, nothing about it hooked me as being, oh wow, like, imagine if there is a universe where everything is like whatever. It just didn't give any sense of that to me whatsoever. And so if you guys haven't seen Loki season 2, this is no major spoilers, even though it is technically a spoiler. They do nothing with the multiverse in it. The first season had a crocodile Loki and a kid Loki and a girl Loki. It had like the big Richard E. Grant Loki, and then there was like all the alternative Lokis. This one, girl Loki is in it again, but that's it. They don't do anything fun with the multiverse at all. And genuinely, and this was Capelthave, who's usually, often on the show, he asked me about it earlier, and I said to him, just watch the finale. Now, you won't quite understand everything, but if you got about 5 minutes of material from the first 5 episodes and watched it as a previously, or, rather than previously on Loki, you can skip these episodes as long as you know this. Then you could just watch the finale and it would still make sense. It would make complete sense. I won't give you the spoiler if you don't want it, but there is nothing that happens in it that progresses it beyond where Loki season 1 ended. And it almost, to me, when Loki season 1 ended and it came up at the end, Loki will return, I almost feel like the way this ended was the way they intended the first season to end. But they were like, oh, this might be a good one to do a second season of, or, oh, this is popular, or whatever. We'll just change the ending so that we can do a sequel. And then they had no ideas for the sequel. And then it was just sort of like delaying tactics to get to the ending which they did in this one. It added absolutely nothing to the overall MCU.
I think you're dead on with that. And again, it's that laziness of Hollywood of, oh, this thing, it was very popular. Because I watched the entire Loki season 1. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was solid. And then this one, I just, I think similar to Marty, it's sort of like that burnout of it, and I just really didn't have any interest in it. And it's like that, okay, something's popular, let's make more of it, and let's inundate people with it.
Yeah.
And they fell flat on their face on it.
Well, the best... no, go ahead, Marty.
Well, didn't Hiddleston come out and say this was it? He's not playing Loki anymore?
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I think so. But, like, loads of them have kind of said that along the way, and they'll be back.
Money speaks. That's the key.
See, Hiddleston, the mistake he made, I can't remember what it was called. It was called, like, there was something where he played a spy. a few years ago, and it was well regarded, like a mini series.
Oh, The Night Manager.
The Night Manager, that was it. And everyone was like, "Oh my god, he should be the next James Bond." And he stayed on that Loki train too long. He needed to, if he was going to do other things, he needed to find it in between.
Yeah.
Well, the strike thing was a big factor of that too, though. The strike caused a lot of them to pursue or what's what.
Yeah.
This is a personal opinion for me, but I don't know how interested I am going to be in the future of Marvel if Kang is going to be the big bad villain, because I have always thought that Kang is a very nothing and boring villain. In the comics, I never liked him as a villain, and in the movies so far, I mean, I guess Ant-Man's the only thing we've seen him in. You know, he didn't do anything. He's just not. I don't know. Just we gotta get Dr. Doom or Galactus or somebody that's really bad like Thanos was. You know.
Okay, but how do you get past this scene that we've seen here? Like, there is literally thousands of Kangs. Is this just going to be like a dead end story? Like, how do they even recast this guy if that's what they think is the simple solution? If he gets in, because I know it's like, oh, will he go to prison or get in trouble or get cancelled or something like this? But when
Is he in Loki?
Sorry?
Is he in Loki?
Okay, do you want the spoilers?
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, he's in Loki, but like this is the interesting thing with what they've done with Kang. I'll compare it to Thanos. Thanos you saw for like 5 seconds at the end of the first Avengers film. And it's like, oh, who's that, if you didn't know? Then obviously he popped up in first he may have popped up in Avengers Age of Ultron again for a little teaser. And that might have been the "fine, I'll do it myself" line. And then he was in Guardians of the Galaxy for a little bit, and it's like, okay, who is this guy that keeps popping up? And then obviously we got Infinity War, where he had the most screen time out of any character, and they did all of this to establish him. And he seemed an incredible threat. Like, when you first properly saw him, and he's beating up the Hulk, and he kills Loki, and he smashes about Thor and stuff like this. It's like, wow, this dude is almost unstoppable. With Kang, they had him as He Who Remains in Loki, and Girl Loki stabbed him and killed him. Then he's in Ant-Man, and he got beaten by someone that didn't have any powers in a fist fight. And then at the end of was it the end of Ant-Man? What was the one where they tease it? This scene, was this the post-credit scene for Quantumania? It was, wasn't it?
I think that was in Quantumania, yeah.
Yeah, so they show that there's all of these Kangs, and then they show that he was like a variant of him is like Thomas Edison or something in the past, and Owen Wilson and Loki is standing looking at him in bowler hats like Abbott and Costello, and it's not setting him up as this threat. And he's got like the crazy scientist hair, and the way he plays the character is as a complete goofball. And in one sense that works because it's a variant, but you still can't get rid of that he doesn't just come across like a threat. He just comes across like, because there's like the meme or whatever where he's like stuttering and he's like, oh, I want the cocoa machine and stuff like this, and it's like, well, this isn't Thanos level. This, it genuinely, it feels like he should be in a buddy movie, just like, but so they've diminished him, and it's the same thing that they did with What If, where Iron Man died to save everyone, and then in What If they killed him every week like he was Kenny from South Park, and it's like you've diminished the meaning of Iron Man's death. Like in the Spider-Man film that came out, like Spider-Man 2, they had the scene where you see the Iron Man suit and it's got a skull in it, and I was like, that's, it's a nightmare for Peter Parker, but it's a bit disrespectful for they just had this significant death and now they're using it for like a shock or something. But then they killed him over and over again, in What If, and they're making all of the things that should have meaning seem meaningless. And I know this is slightly off point, but just sticking on the Iron Man thing, because I say it frequently, when they had She-Hulk show that there is just a writer's room who's deciding everything, it's like, well, then Thanos and Tony Stark didn't fight to the death, and Tony Stark died to save everyone. The writer's room killed him. It's like they've diminished everything. And if you've got 1,000,001 Kangs, but he's already been defeated 2 or 3 times, guys, how bothered are you by the spoilers? How bothered are you by the spoilers for Loki?
I'm not bothered at all.
Okay, well, good. So let's get into it. So, do you remember in Doctor Strange how Mr. Fantastic turned into spaghetti?
Yes.
They have something... Okay, so to give you the spoilers, so when you got to the end of Loki Season 1, it kind of had the, damn you, you blew it up, that was our planet sort of moment, where he sees all these statues of Kang, and they were like, shit, we didn't plan to make a second season. So it was just going to leave Loki looking like, oh, what is this, what has been created? Within 5 minutes, it was like, everyone's like, who is this? Who is this person? And Loki says to, like, Owen Wilson, you know me. And then suddenly he turns into spaghetti, Loki does, and he suddenly blips back into the timeline he was meant to be on. And so it's like, oh, so that world where Kang rules everything, you've backpedaled from that because you don't want to do that now. And you've just taken him back and you're saying, oh, he's slipping back and forth between dimensions. He's jumping about the multiverse from 2 almost identical dimensions, one where they know him and one where they don't know him. But then almost the entire show thereafter just takes place in the original dimension from the first season. And then they meet this variant of Kang, and eventually they say to Kang, look, you need to go do this thing that's going to save us all. But when you go to do it, he suddenly turns into spaghetti. And Loki then jumps back in time and says, okay, do it this way so that doesn't happen. And then it happens over again. And it's kind of like a bit like Groundhog Day. And this is literally into the finale. You see Kang the Conqueror, this variant of him, get killed about 30 times. It's like, if that is the image that has seeped into your brain, then you just see that this guy is not a threat. You know, they just diminish everything. Whereas if they had shown Kang and he basically kills Ant-Man, and then Ant-Man just manages to escape by the skin of his teeth, and then instead of walking along the street as he does at the end of the film talking about his book, if he's then literally in front of all of the Avengers and they kind of don't believe him and he's like, this guy's the new Thanos, and they all look to each other, what are we going to do? Then you're like, shit, we need to see the next one about how they're going to start to build their army. And then, if they're like, then they all come face to face with Kang, and then Kang suddenly, the lights come up and there's millions of him, then you've suddenly got a reason to have millions of him. But you've already seen millions of him and they're all crap. You know. Anyway, rant over.
Maybe everybody has their own personal king that they have to defeat. That's what it is.
Oh, it's like metaphor. That's quite deep, Gerald. Your own personal Kang to... yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. I feel like lately diminishing villains has been what they've been doing. Because I didn't like James Gunn's interpretation of the High Evolutionary. I did not like the interpretation of Gore the God Butcher in the Thor movie.
Yeah.
They never should have had Wanda as the villain in the Doctor Strange movie.
I disagree. I love that. I thought they did a great job with it. Like, I think she still could come back because of her powers and all that stuff, and I think that was a big plus for Marvel with Doctor Strange too, with her being the villain and causing that chaos where she could actually overturn being the most powerful villain on the planet, or any planet.
Okay, I'm very interested in both the thoughts there. Marty, out of interest, why didn't you think Wanda should have been the bad guy there?
Because there's so many really good Doctor Strange villains that they could have used. instead of doing that. I know, I don't know. I didn't like that film all that much. I was hoping they were going to introduce Nightmare, or perhaps, well, they probably would. I didn't think they would do Dormammu again, but Dormammu is like Doctor Strange's Thanos.
Yep.
I'll be honest, Dormammu, we need to negotiate, or whatever that line is that gets said more times than Kang gets killed, right? I really didn't like that, because he just went... If you've ever played the game Star Fox, you fly along in space, and then you just come to a big floating head, and it kind of looked like Dormammu, and it's like a giant monkey head. And that's all I saw when I saw Dormammu, and it's like, Dormammu, I've come to bargain. And it was just like, I was like, what's going on? I'm like, where's Mads Mikkelsen gone? And it's like, I just didn't understand it then. I get it more now. But let me just quickly say on Wanda, I didn't mind her becoming the villain. I think a problem is that film relied on you having watched WandaVision, which not everyone did. And so that was a problem, because it would be like, why is Wanda suddenly the villain? But one of the problems that they had is, as they pointed this out in WandaVision, Wanda was powerful enough to have defeated Thanos on her own. And so she could probably defeat anyone if you've got that much power. So how do you make it so that you put the underdogs as the good guys? Because the good guys should be the underdogs. Well, you take your strongest good guy and make him a villain, so that now they've swapped sides. I didn't mind that. My biggest gripe with Multiverse of Madness is, once again, they basically did nothing with the multiverse. When it was like, finally we got to the place where there was the Illuminati, and then they just killed Professor X. So in one sense it could work, because it's like, oh well, they didn't really kill them because they died there, but we'll get another version later. It's like, well, they killed Mr. Fantastic, they killed Black Bolt, or whatever the character's called. They killed, they killed Charles Xavier. And it was like, well, that really wasn't a multiverse. It was just one other place. You know, so I felt they could have done more there. I didn't mind Wanda as the villain for that reason. But I do take your point, Marty. If there are a load of good Doctor Strange villains that they didn't use, like, literally, other than Thor, any character only gets three movies. So if they've used up one, you know, if they've only got one Doctor Strange movie left, then, you know, that's only one more opportunity to bring in some more of the Doctor Strange villains. So I do get it on that front. But I didn't mind Wanda as the bad guy.
Did you see the notification or something that Disney said that they are going to have items coming out, and I guess the first one is going to be Echo, that are not going to be intertwined into the existing, like, you don't need to see it to see the other things, because they finally realized that they've basically burnt out people on it. So, like, there'll be parts that are part of the MCU and then parts that are not part of the MCU, if you will.
Gerald, just for clarity, are you saying that Disney's new marketing campaign is Echo? You don't need to see it.
I guess so, yes.
Wow. No, I didn't hear that. So will it still be part of the MCU, but just that it's almost standalone?
It sounded like they're going to have, like, the true MCU, and then they're going to have other stuff that's Marvel that may or may not be, you know, may or may not be relevant to the other ones. But it's not like required, sort of like what you mentioned about WandaVision with. I
mean, it's weird. It's almost like they've reverted back to the Netflix Disney show, like Marvel shows, like Daredevil, Jessica Jones, etc. And then obviously Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. All of these were supposedly part of the same world, but they just had them separate, because even back then they realised, well, this is too much. If you had to watch, like, Iron Fist and the Defenders to be able to understand the next Avengers movie, it would just overwhelm people. And then they didn't learn from that lesson, because starting with WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, especially What If and all these other things, Werewolf by Night, and stuff like that. It's like, if you need to watch all of these, you will just drive people away.
Yeah, and it's exactly the reason why I stopped buying comic books, because you have to buy all these different comic books to know what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, when I was a young man, you know, there was one Spider-Man book and one X-Men book and one Fantastic Four book. Now they're, you know, starting in, I guess, the late 80s to the 90s, multiple books.
Yeah.
About all the characters and all the and you just, you know, and I get it. They're just like, oh, well, people have to buy comics and keep up, and it's, you know, it'll drive, you know, it'll be money for us. But just stop.
Well, and then the other thing to that too, Marty, is like some, and I think I may be speaking wrong on this, but some of those comics are not just monthlies; they're coming out every 2 weeks.
Are they really?
Yeah, some are, and I can't remember if it's some of the Spider-Man ones or Batman or something, but I was sort of surprised at that too. It's like, okay, so, you know, we're getting, and again, it used to be relatively cheap for comics. Now I think it's roughly $3-4 a comic. Some are as high as $5. So yeah, and then when they do those crossover events, then you have to buy, you know, 30-40 comics, and yeah.
See, with the comic world, kind of like they do with some of these series, is kind of like Masked Singer or whatever. They'll have 10 seasons in only 5 years, where back in the day it would be 10 years. And they do that with just about everything now, because they're like, okay, if you're up to issue 100, you must be good. And yet you haven't been around long, so they're putting you more and more and more. And yeah, a lot of it's just ridiculous. It's all about the pennies and the money and insane factor. So they take the people that are broke and tell them to go F themselves, which is sad, but it's so true. But I mean, just in general, because of what's going on in the world, we don't know what's the next steps, because they don't even know what's the next steps. But I will say, I mean, again, you go down to the Marvel Universe, the DC Universe, they have like insanely powerful villains and heroes, and they should, because they're heroes and villains in the superhero world. But to me, WandaVision, them wanting to you know, focus, WandaVision was a huge hit, humongous hit. So it was like they had that great following that people want to see it. Like even people's girlfriends, they're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to see this movie. You want to see it? Then you better watch WandaVision, and they'll watch it again. So that was like a big pick-me-up, which again, I just thought she was a great villain. I thought it was spectacular. And again, that opening's still out there. But, and again, he had some incredibly powerful villains on his own. But again, she could kick all their asses, as we can see. So it's just like, never know till you know. But I'll tell you what, if there are any problems, I want Wanda on my side. No questions asked.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I enjoyed WandaVision. And I mean, I honestly can't remember the order that the shows came out. But I enjoyed WandaVision, and then I had high hopes for the rest of the show. And the rest of the shows just, you know, they were either meh or bad.
It went WandaVision, then Falcon and the Winter Soldier, then Loki.
I thought Falcon and the Winter Soldier was first, but
no, it wasn't. No, it was WandaVision. It was meant to be Falcon and the Winter Soldier going out first, but because of the pandemic, they hadn't quite got it wrapped up in time and everything. And even WandaVision, they cut an episode from it, so when you get to the end, it all feels a bit rushed. So WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, What If, Hawkeye, and then the next year, I think that's when they had Moon Knight, and there's something else. Ms. Marvel, She-Hulk, Werewolf by Night, and then And then this year has been kind of a bit dead for it. Like there's been Loki. What else has actually been this calendar year?
It's the only thing that's coming to mind for me. Oh, and then Secret Wars.
Oh, Secret Wars, and then Loki season 2, and yeah, it's weird because like they were going to do Daredevil, and they filmed 8 or 9 episodes, and they've scrapped it. I've literally just got here this the article that I've got here is saying that the Kang Dynasty has lost its director. So the person who directed Shang-Chi was going to direct it. So Destin Daniel Cretton has dropped out of the Kang Dynasty, and it says here that it had a script written by Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Now, look, that was a flop, so why would you keep that script out as well? And
Right.
I heard a day or two ago that apparently Captain America 4 is going to have 5 months of reshoots, which to me sounds like they're just basically starting from scratch.
Wow.
How can you have 5 months of reshoots?
Yeah, I knew it was delayed to 2025.
Yeah. So, but it just sounds like what my biggest hope from this is that people will look back at this and say, well, look, we had a string of films that didn't do too well, and we hit rock bottom, and we recognised it, and we saw that, look, we can either continue this downward spiral, or we can reshoot this. Apparently, they started from scratch with the plot of the Blade movie. Started from scratch with Daredevil, and it's like, and like some of the stuff that they've got planned, like Armor Wars and stuff like that, it just sounds doomed to fail. Because when you see like the poster and it's like, well, there's Bucky, and it's like, oh, and there's Black Widow's sister, and is that Black Widow's dad? It's like, because like no one even watched Black Widow, that like no one knows what Armor Wars is or whatever. They need to kind of be sensible and think, well, okay, we need to focus on Spider-Man and Wolverine and Iron Man. Bring back the heavy hitters.
Yep.
Because it's like 10 years since Iron Man 3. So
Yeah. Well, and that's to your point there. I mean, like, I don't believe they did, and I can't keep track of it all. But I think like a War Machine movie would have been a good one a while ago, but they didn't do that. Then the other thing is too is with Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man being killed and everything with it, that Iron Man is a key component of Armor Wars. I mean, yes, you can try and do it with War Machine and some of the other ones, but and again with the Secret Wars, how does that fall out and play out and everything else? But I mean, yeah, you have Ironheart, but I don't think there's really any of the other Iron-ish type characters that they've incorporated or done. I think maybe Pepper Potts or something had something as well. But I mean, it's they're starting with something that it was a fairly good storyline and everything, but they're in a bad spot right now to be able to accomplish that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just don't. I don't know why, but they just don't seem to be able to figure out why. I just thought that first 10 years was so good.
Yeah.
How could they be screwing the pooch so bad right now?
Well, and the other thing was too is it was spaced out because it wasn't everything all at once. I mean, over 10 years they had how many movies versus over the last 10 years they've had how many movies?
Yeah,
and
that's
stuff.
true. They've done too much. They've spread themselves too thin.
Mm-hmm.
Like too little butter over bread or whatever. I don't know.
Too little butter.
That line from Lord of the Rings. So, but I was going to say, the MCU is not the only one that's doing this, though. I feel like the Star Wars movies and those are also.
It's Disney.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also suffering the same fate. I haven't watched the last 2 or 3 Star Wars shows.
No.
Because I just lost interest.
Yeah. The last one I saw properly, I think, was Obi-Wan. But you think, so when they said that there's going to be the sequel trilogy, they announced there will be a sequel trilogy, but then on the in-between years there'd be other films. And so they had Rogue One, then they did The Last Jedi, which basically doomed them anyway. They did Solo, which literally flopped. And then when they had Rise of Skywalker, well, people wanted to see, are they going to fix things after number 8? What is the end of the story? And then it happened. And then it was like, well, The Mandalorian, people likes that. But the big problem they've got is, and it's a similar thing when it comes to Star Trek, is they haven't moved the story on. It's like, when you think of Star Trek, it had the original series, then the Next Generation, and everything since is, well, it's kind of set in between, or it's a complete prequel. We're too afraid to actually do the next generation. And with Star Wars, they'd got the films, and then it's like, now we're going to do the prequels. And then it's like, people didn't think it was going to happen. Then we're going to do the sequels, but it's like, now we're just going to dot around in the middle forever. And it's like, well, no, like, create new stories, because you already ruined this one. So the more you keep adding to it, it's still going to stay ruined. Why don't you just try to get some new characters that have got nothing to do with the past, that doesn't, like, change the canon of what's already established, and just try to make something fresh.
Well, I heard they're going to make... Aren't they going to take Rey and have her, like, trying to reestablish the Jedi?
Oh, there was something about a new Rey movie, wasn't there?
Yeah. Which, I mean, that would be kind of like the next generation. You know, let's just let go of all this stuff in the past. I mean, I'm as nostalgic as anybody, but let's move on. You know.
Well, I think again, there's a lot of stories and stuff out there that they could be following. Like, you know, Star Wars especially, you look at all of the novels and stuff that were created, as well as, was it Shadows of the Empire was like a big comic / video game series that came out, I think, in the early 2000s. There's some great stuff that they could pull from that, but again, like what you mentioned is they're stuck playing around in the middle instead of trying to branch out. And even though, like, that Shadows of the Empire, I believe, I don't know if it falls within the continuity here, but it definitely would have been after Jedi, and well, maybe not even. Maybe it's after Rey as well.
My understanding is if you're saying it was like in the 2000s, because I know that the Shadow of the Empire, there might be another version, but the video game was a launch title on the Nintendo 64, like at least in the UK. So that was 1997. And when Disney bought Star Wars, they said that the only things that actually count are the original 6 movies and the Clone Wars. Everything else was in their Legends pile. So it's like, we might reference some of these characters, but there'll be new versions because they're all in this pile that we've disregarded.
Yeah. And like Marvel too, like a couple I was thinking that would be great to have, and you don't even necessarily have to have them tie into anything, would be the Dark Phoenix saga, and then also Days of Future Past. I mean, those are two fantastic storylines and everything that they could use, and again, they wouldn't have to incorporate them in. And then like some of the end series that they have too are Old Man Logan, which they did do with, what is it, the Wolverine or Wolverine?
Well, no, Logan, I believe, right?
Logan, I couldn't remember. And I thought that was really good. I thought it was excellent. And it was you could tell it was somewhat disconnected from the other films and stuff, which was perfectly fine because it had a pretty good story to it.
But they've done the Phoenix story twice now and not done a good job both times.
Yeah. And I don't know if... Yeah, I don't know.
Well, yeah, and Days of Future Past was a joke.
I really like that movie. Why was it a joke?
Well, if you'd ever read the Days of Future Past comic, you'd know how impactful that was. That was probably the peak X-Men. I mean, they were firing on all cylinders at that time, and so all they did basically was just take that title, and they mucked it up so bad. It was just. I have not watched an X-Men movie since then.
Well, since Days of Future Past.
Have not watched one single frame of an X-Men movie.
Wait, have you not seen Logan?
I did see Logan.
Okay, because I'm sure that was after that.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was great.
And that just goes, because like, I know those storylines are excellent, but that means that those movies were so bad it was not even on my remotely on my radar that they had already been done, and they were, because I guess they were just done so poorly. Because I mean, again, the writers on that, I mean, they received awards, and those are two of the biggest storylines if you talk about X-Men that, you know, right off the top you could deal with and have if you did something good with it. But it sounds like they just butchered it.
Yeah,
they have X-Men Apocalypse came after Days of Future Past, and it wasn't that great. And then what was the next one after that? Was that was like Dark Phoenix or whatever they called it? And then what was the most recent one, which had none of the previous characters? New Mutants.
New Mutants I liked, but I didn't. I thought it was okay. It was one of those that I guess was finalized or getting finished by Fox before Disney bought them, so it was sort of stuck in a weird middle spot.
Yeah, that's fair.
I liked it, but I wasn't expecting a ton from it either. It was one of those that was very much under the radar. It didn't get a lot of publicity.
Well, I hope.
Go ahead.
My hope is that they're not going to reuse any of the old X-Men actors. I would like them to recast. But I've already heard rumors.
What rumors have you heard?
About the ending scene on this the Marvels movie.
Now, I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard rumors and... let's just say I think you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah, I think I am too.
Yeah, look, but the interesting thing is it looks like they are literally... For what they're doing for the Kang Dynasty or Secret Wars movie or whatever it is, right? It might be that they're bringing in Wolverine. They're going to have Ryan Reynolds. They'll bring back Patrick Stewart. They might bring back Ian McKellen and Halle Berry and stuff like this. And then something will happen. So I think this has to reach a point where they kind of say, well, that's that universe, and now we're kind of starting again in a new one. And it will follow brand new actors. Because that's they can't, like, they've aged out all of their cast. And if you've aged out Iron Man and Captain America and pretty much Thor and Hulk and all of the actual popular characters, then that's why they are now scraping the barrel with characters that people don't know and don't care about. The only way to fix that is to say, well, here's a reboot. But because of it being one big connected story, you can't really reboot it ever. But the multiverse would have been the thing that allowed them to do it, and they've made a shambles of it.
I mean, you just recast people and let them continue the story. I think that makes a lot of sense, because no matter what, Spider-Man, Superman, all those, DC Marvels, they're still here. So it's like, you don't need these new people, just replace them. It's sort of it's sad, but to me, it just comes down to, I can tell you what's going to be a big spoiler within the next 5 years. You'll all see it if you're around, but Barbie's going to take over the whole MC universe, and then she'll be combined with DC universe and all that, because that's the way the world's running. Right. Right now, it's... Never say never, though. But
literally, we should never say never, because, if it suddenly turns out that Disney buy Mattel, then it actually would happen.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they haven't crossed over Star Wars into the MCU yet.
There was a time when Marvel came this close to buying DC.
When?
I forget when it was, but DC was in trouble and Marvel was this close to buying.
That sounds like this year.
Well, but the flip side too is Marvel was close to. I don't think they declared bankruptcy, but they were pretty close after probably the early mid 2000s. And the movies are actually what helped them sort of get through it, and then obviously eventually getting bought by Disney. So.
Yeah, what saved them? Well, actually, they were close to the 90s as well, and what saved them was selling the movie rights to the characters, which is why now they're having. Well, they're not having a hard time anymore, but they were having a hard time trying to get the rights back to all of these characters, because that's how they saved themselves. Cameron had the rights to Spider-Man for years. Wow. And was going to make a movie. And then they had all these other companies had all the other rights tied up.
Yeah. Speaking of which, have you guys seen the trailer for Madam Web?
Yes.
Let's bring it up here and discuss, because I'll be honest, I don't know this character at all. And when I watched this trailer, all I saw, and let's bring up our force field here, is when I first saw this, I was like, oh, it's Spider-Man. And I was like, oh, is it girl Spider-Man? But then it turns out it's a guy. That's a guy, right? Yeah. And he's dressed like Spider-Man. And they show all these people with spider powers. And it's like, I don't understand how this is not a Spider-Man movie. Like, is everyone, like, Venom and... Is everyone from, like, the Spider-Verse just got spider powers? Because I don't understand who any of these characters are or what their powers are. You see this girl, she's a paramedic, she falls off a cliff, and somehow suddenly she's got powers. It's like, how does that happen? There was, like, no radioactive anything in there. You know what I mean? There needs to be, like, some electricity or some explosion. Why? Well, look, she got CPR, and now all of a sudden she's got powers. What happened here?
Well, and then the other thing is it shows like 3 or 4 spider people, which again, like I've heard of some of them in passing, but yeah, it just seems like they're trying to explode now out the Spider-Verse in the live action ones as opposed to the animated that they did. And like the character Madam Web is not a super well-known character, but I think she was originally back in maybe the 70s.
I think it was the 80s, but I mean, early 80s, I believe. But yeah, I loved her as a kid. But yeah, she was...
I mean, why didn't they just make Spider-Woman? Like, they've got the rights to that, surely.
I don't know. I mean, these movies, like, let's see, who have they done so far? They've done Venom. They've done
Morbius.
Morbius. They're doing Kraven the Hunter.
Yep.
And now Madam Web. Nobody gives a flying shit about these things. I mean, if Spider-Man's not in it, who gives a crap?
But Madam Web actually had her nice little following of people that would follow, because again, she was wheelchair, she couldn't walk, and you know, she was blind, she went through it, but super powerful, and I don't know, it's cool.
Okay, let's take off
Plus,
that.
this chick can act.
I mean, look at this. Like, she's literally got, like, the Iron Spider, like, suit there. And,
that's what it looks like.
Yeah. I just don't get this at all, because all of what they show here are just, like, spider people doing Spider-Man stuff. To me, like, Venom, yeah, make a Venom movie, sure, that's a smart move, because...
Where's Spider-Monkey? That's the movie I'm waiting.
Well, why don't, like, look, if Sony... Like, do Sony actually need to produce a Spider-Man movie to keep the rights? Or just is it that they can just spin out any one of these Madam Web movies and they keep the rights forever of Spider-Man? Because why don't they just do Spider-Man 1 year, then, like, just before they're going to lose the rights, release a Venom film, just before they lose the rights again, do a Miles Morales live-action film, then do a Spider-Woman film, and then get back to Peter Parker? Like, and then, or do a Dr. Octopus movie, or whatever. Like, take the villains that people know. Spider-Man has got, like, a really good villains gallery. And it's like,
yeah,
you use some of them. Like, if they've used Venom...
He and
go ahead.
Batman have the best rogues gallery of any superhero.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Like, literally, they could do, like... It seems like Kingpin is in the MCU now, but do a Kingpin movie. Do any of these characters that Spider-Man goes up against, but do something based around them. Have, like, if they literally did Green Goblin versus Dr. Octopus, the movie, I think people would be like, oh my god, the two villains are fighting? You know, whose side are you going to be on? You know, both of those have got brand recognition. When I hear Madam Web, I honestly thought it was going to be like an old lady.
Well, in the comics, she is.
Yeah,
She's an old lady. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Well, okay, let's look this up.
Yeah, she's blind, she's in a wheelchair, but she does have her powers, but she's super old. She looks like Aunt May to an extent, but yeah, she's the old Aunt May, not the new one. But yeah.
They should totally do an Aunt May movie as well. Oh my god, you're right. Okay, let's bring this up. So look, there is Madam Web. She's an old lady in a Spider-Man outfit.
See, there she even looks a bit younger than she was in her original format in the 80s comics.
Actually, I need to take that off. Some of those images are a bit spicy. So, like, nothing that's going to break the rules, but who knows? Like, you don't know when you get into fan fiction and AI stuff.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I haven't been to see a movie since, I think, Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Wow.
And I see nothing on the horizon that looks like it's going to attempt to be back into the theaters.
I'm trying to even think. They showed off a trailer for a Garfield film. That looked fun. And Chris Pratt is just like Chris Pratt voiced Super Mario and he sounded like Chris Pratt. It's like Star-Lord. Now Garfield sounds like Star-Lord.
Is he doing Garfield too?
Yeah.
Stop this! We have got to stop this. He divorces his wife, he marries a Schwarzenegger. And gets all hyper-religious and he's just, it just pisses me off.
Wait, so your reasons for being angry at him is that he divorced his wife and married a Schwarzenegger? It's like, that shouldn't necessarily disqualify him. But
I think in the early days, he just seemed like a down-to-earth guy. And now he seems like Mr. Hollywood,
Yeah.
And I just don't like that. I enjoy down-to-earth Chris Pratt, but, Arnold is my father-in-law now, Chris Pratt, not so much. And Arnold, Chris Pratt's Garfield, kiss my ass. Come on.
I mean, I'm just trying to look to see what trailers there are.
Yeah.
Apparently there's a new Chicken Run movie.
Oh, good.
Is he in? Is Chris Pratt in it?
Is who?
Chris Pratt in it. Pratt, the one that...
Well, look, it's not going to be Mel Gibson nowadays, is it? He's not going to come back. So let's see who it says is in it.
I have no idea what's coming out.
No, I've got no idea, but
Do I care?
yeah, it's difficult. Like, everything is kind of rehashes. Like, there's I'd like to see Ghostbusters 4 that I think we were speaking about on a show last week.
That trailer looks interesting.
Yeah, I would like to see Ghostbusters
And then
Frozen. What?
The new Planet of the Apes movie.
Yeah, that doesn't look bad. That doesn't look bad at all. Like, there's a few things, but it's interesting that I haven't seen any trailers for something that isn't like a franchise. So if we're saying like Ghostbusters 4, or technically the 5th Ghostbusters film, and Planet of the Apes like 17 or whatever it would be, and like the Marvel Cinematic Universe entry number 34, like, when was the last time that an original film, even if it's like, and this might become a franchise, I can't remember the last original film that was super interesting.
It's definitely been a while.
Yeah.
Well, and
Like,
I
I didn't see the first Oppenheimer, but I'll hop on the sequel if they do it.
I'd like to see Oppenheimer. I didn't want to go to the theater for 3 hours.
Well, I think it was just that, like, apparently you had to see Barbie as well, and I just couldn't stomach that idea. So, it just never happened.
But what kills me is I can't tell you how many streaming services we have. And I'll go on there sometimes, like my wife will have to work at night, and I'll go on there and look for something to watch, and I can't find
nothing.
I can't find a single damn thing to watch.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm like, you know what? I'd love to sit down and watch a movie that I haven't seen, and I can't find anything to watch.
My general theory is that if there's anything that's produced by Netflix, is it's not going to be good. Like, the stories are just going to be generally quite blasé and weak, right? Is my general theory nowadays.
They're pretty boring.
I think the last film I enjoyed that I hadn't seen before, like something that came out this year, was The Flash, believe it or not. That is one of the reasons why I have high hopes for the Marvels. Everyone else, look, when Batman vs Superman came out and everyone was like, this is terrible, I was like, it's not that bad, I quite like it. And then everyone was like, yes, Justice League is amazing. And I watched it and I was like, this is a hunk of shit. Like, why is everyone saying it? And people were like, yes, Episode 8, Star Wars, it's fantastic, until fans saw it, and they said, no, it isn't. So then when everyone said that The Flash was bad, I watched it, and my expectations were so low. I was like, it wasn't the best thing ever. Terrible CGI, but, you know, I enjoyed it. I'm hoping the same for the Marvels, but, like, generally, I just think, like, if there's anything where people give an initial reaction, you can't trust the initial reaction because it's what they think people out there want to hear. And then, you know, it will either increase your expectations and you'll be disappointed. Like Puss in Boots 2. Everyone was like, it's the most emotional film I've ever seen. I watched it. I was like, it's exactly the same as the first one. You know, it did nothing for me. But
You can't listen to Camel Fade.
I don't just mean Camel Fade. Like, literally everyone. Everyone was like, Puss in Boots 2 should win an Oscar. And I was like, why? It's like, because he's on his last life and he's a cat. I was like, I don't care. You know?
Was there Puss in Boots 3?
No, that was Puss in Boots 2.
The Last Wish one?
Yeah, the Last Wish one. No, I swear. He was in Shrek 2. Well, he was in, like, from Shrek 2 onwards. Then they made Puss in Boots. And then they didn't make a Shrek movie until Puss in Boots 2.
I will say, just this year alone, my favorite superhero movie by far and away, even though most of you will disagree, was Shazam 2.
I've not seen it. Do you know what? Okay, Andy, you bring up such a point because I heard such bad things about it, but you're right, I should watch that. It's going to be amazing.
I loved it. That's Shazam's what opened up the doors for me as a young child, and I love Shazam and all that stuff, and I think they did a very good job in the first movie. I mean, you could grab certain things that you criticized, but overall, very good. I thought the second one, they did a great job with it, which surprised me.
Yeah, that's a third Puss in Boots movie.
No, it's not. Right, okay, look. We will sort this out. Puss in Boots. The first one, the villain was the Eggman, right?
What?
I think, I don't know. Puss in Boots, it says, was 2011, and then there was another one that was in 2012, supposedly.
Wait, are you Puss in Boots, the Three Diablos?
Yeah.
Wait a second. Hang on. It's a short. It's a short.
Are you sure? I swore there was another Puss in Boots movie.
It's 13 minutes long. I'm not counting it.
Yeah,
Okay. But, well, there probably is, because there's definitely been, like, bootleg, because Puss in Boots isn't, it's not a copyrighted character.
I thought there was one that went, like, direct to video.
I think there is, but I don't think it's... I think it's just like I could release a Little Mermaid movie, and I might.
Well, no, but I thought I got that, but I thought it was a legitimate Antonio Banderas.
Yeah, but that's not. That's
You're thinking of Zorro. It's the same character.
It
like,
could be.
So
people were saying that The Last Wish should have gotten an Oscar or something.
Yeah, people were going crazy about it. It was terrible. It wasn't terrible.
I thought it was okay.
Yeah, it was okay. Yeah. That was it, though.
I haven't seen it.
That's crazy.
It's got 4 stars.
I didn't like the second Shazam movie.
I think what I liked most about the second Shazam movie was the bit on the trailer where he's flossing, and the bit where they reference the Fast and the Furious and go, family. I was like, I've got to see this film now.
I'm trying to decide if I'm going to watch Blue Beetle when it comes out on that.
I would like to see Blue Beetle. I would like to see that.
I think I will watch it. Yeah.
But I gotta tell you, I think that when our subscription's up, I think we're gonna drop Max because Max has it's just a pile of dog shit.
We're right upon.
Ever since they
Go ahead.
Ever since they took the HBO off and they added all the Discovery content, it's just garbage.
Well, what I was going to say is, like, in about a week's time, it's going to be, like, Black Friday. And I've got the personal decision of if I'm going to continue with Paramount Plus or not.
Yep.
And it's probably going to be a not, because there's just super low... Like, Paramount, it turns out, haven't made that many films or TV shows.
No.
Like, there's just not very much on that service when you compare it to, like, Disney Plus or whatever. But... And again, I think I've said this before, and who knows, but at some point I should look up how this works. But, like, my theory is that I might get any of these services for, like, a month or two to watch something that's new, and then not bother and get one of the others until it rolls around. Like, if there's a new Stranger Things, I'll get Netflix, and once it's done, then I'll cancel it, and then I can get Disney Plus and watch Loki Season 3 or whatever. And then once that's done, then I can get Paramount Plus and... Well, no, nothing. Right,
Well,
on Paramount
someone
Plus.
one I know here in Atlanta said that Stranger Things has resumed filming.
Ooh.
They had to go get all the kids out of the nursing home. But,
Yeah, exactly.
But they've started filming again.
See, that's the thing with the actors' strike and the writers' strike. It's like, literally, that's going to ruin that. Imagine if, like, there'd been a year's actors' strike during the making of the Harry Potter films. And it's just suddenly, like, you know, Hermione is pregnant. What do we do? You know, she's just too old. You know. Like, it's just like, you know, Harry Potter and the 6 octuplets or whatever. 6 octuplets, what am I talking about? Shit, that's terrible. 8 octuplets. But whatever, my point still stands. At least what? Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay, guys, so look, the one other thing that I'd put into the title of the show, but like Capelfave isn't here, so I'm sure none of you will care. They've shown off a trailer for a new Masters of the Universe that's coming to Netflix. And whereas the last one didn't have He-Man in it almost at all, but they made you think he was in it on the trailer. This one looks like He-Man's in it on the trailer, but surely they can't do the same thing again, and like do this whole switcheroo thing. But again, perhaps, you know, if there is a show tomorrow and Cap's on it, we'll get more into that, because I'm not sure how He-Man focused you guys are.
People didn't seem to like it. Kevin Smith.
I think he is. I'm not sure, actually. Masters of the Universe. Masters of the Air. That's not what I'm searching.
I have started watching season 2 of Invincible, and I can recommend that. It's a good show.
Okay.
When Cap tells you it's a good show, you can believe him on that one.
Okay, well, I will take that on board. I don't know. It's like, even watching this He-Man thing. Look, I'll play it for a second here, but that's going to get me copyright struck or whatever. Let's bring up the force field. It's like, yeah. So look, look, there we see there's He-Man and whatever stuff like this. The interesting thing about like the last one they did is like, I was like, there's this huge amount of like nostalgia, and when you watch it, it was absolutely made for adults. Because like I think I've mentioned before, there's a scene where Evil Lynn literally wants to bone Skeletor, and it's like, well, obviously this isn't made for children. And this, like, the animation looks fantastic. And I assume Mark Hamill is back as Skeletor in it and stuff like this. But it really makes it look like He-Man is the main character. And maybe they've learned from the huge amounts of backlash before, but it just seems like it's a problem that's like across all of these different networks, all of these different studios, where they're trying to, instead of giving people what they want, they're trying to just give people something else. And I don't really understand the rhyme or reason for it. But like, thing after thing is flopping. And like, it's only because we've got movies like The Flash that, you know, anyone's still going to the cinema.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is, but the entertainment industry is in trouble.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the answer is. But cinemas are in trouble. Streaming is not the savior that we all thought it was going to be. Yeah, but it's bad right now.
I think there is a genuine chance that some of these things, because it's been the observation for years that you get like these big $300 million movies, or you might get these really small indie ones. But like the kind of films that came out in the 90s and 2000s, just like some comedies and stuff like this, they don't really exist anymore. And so there is evidence that certain things that used to get produced just has kind of gone away. And now with the streaming stuff, it's literally, there is so much to watch. Like if you go back in time, like to when there was first VHS, it's like, what's on VHS? Oh, they're releasing 6 new films in the next 2 months. Shall we buy some of them? And then, like, literally, for the first few years of VHS, you probably could have the entire cinematic collection. But all of that stuff still exists. And then everything from the 90s exists, and everything from the noughties exists. And so I could say I don't like the cinema or whatever that they're making nowadays, and there is enough content out there that I could watch things from the 80s, 90s, noughties for the rest of my life and still not watch everything. And
Say the 90s again?
The what?
Say the 90s again?
The 90s.
Yeah, no, it sounded like you said 80s and 90s. That's all I'm like.
No, the 80s, 90s and noughties, like the 2000s. The noughties, like they've got zeros.
Never heard that. Okay.
I love the way you said, and the noughties, right? Yeah. Right, I've lost my train of thought now. But yeah, but the point is, so you could just watch all of that old stuff and never need to watch new stuff. So the new stuff is competing with the old stuff. So there's all of these things, and it's competing with us on YouTube, because clearly we've got millions of viewers right now. But it's competing with TikTok and Instagram Reels and all of that. And video games, and it's the same with video games, and it's the same with books. You can read the new things, you can play the new things, but you could also choose to play Atari and whatever, and read, Lord of the Flies, and not ever have to consume newer stuff. And so the newer stuff really has to up its game and be better, and generally it's all worse.
Mm-hmm. I just wish I do have some, like, when I was a kid, I loved horror movies, but I didn't get to watch a lot, because back then, there were only, like, 3 channels, and, I literally would get the television guide thing that would come in the paper on Sunday, and I would go through it, and I would mark the things that I wanted to watch, and most of the time, they were on really, really late at night. And my parents would not always let me stay up and watch them, because I'd be like, that's the first time I saw Godzilla vs. King Kong.
Wow.
Was late at night on television, and there's a bunch of movies I missed during that period of time, but some of them you can't find. You just can't find them.
Yeah.
I'd love to watch them, but I don't know where they are.
Yeah. Right, guys, on that note, I'm going to have to begin to wrap things up here, because it's almost midnight where I am. But let's let the audience know where they can find us, and if you have any recommendations for what people should check out, like movies, shows, video games, comics, whatever you want to say, let us know. Marty, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at @WhatWoulJesusGlue. And even though I just mentioned it, I'm going to say Amazon Prime Invincible. It's a good show. It's animated, but it's a good superhero show. I read the comic, and it's pretty darn faithful to the comic. And it even looks like the comic. They have even made it look like the artwork in the comic. So it's very faithful, and it's very well done.
Okay, Andy.
Well, you can always follow me on anything that you see right behind where I'm posting. I do post a monthly show. We have one this Friday, which is November 7th. blanking out, November 17th. And it is an appreciated Good Laugh Improvisers and Comedians Extravaganza. This is number 40, where we have, I believe it's 17 different acts performing. We have Extreme Improv that is going on at 3:47 p.m. Eastern Time. And we have my improv team, the Improv Professionals, performing at 7:11 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm doing a solo improv scene act with myself. And I'll let you see my hands, so I'm not doing anything else. By myself. That's at 6:47 p.m.
Good disclaimer. Good disclaimer.
I'll let you see my hands, so I'm not doing anything else. I love it. Okay, awesome stuff, Andy. Gerald.
Instagram, Gerald Geek. And if you haven't seen it, so we touched on some of the like pre-MCU TV shows and stuff. And in particular, I'm going to say Luke Cage Season 1. I thought it was very good. I thought the actor that they chose, I can't remember his name, Michael something or another. Coulter. Yeah, he was excellent at it. It's not a character I really knew much about, but it was very good. It had some darkness and stuff to it. I didn't really get into the second season, but I think the first season is excellent, and I highly recommend it.
Okay. My name is David Postansky. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at David Postansky. I'm going to give a video game recommendation for you guys out there, because I've been saying about all of the great stuff from the 80s and noughties, guys. Do check out, look, I think it's released, it might even be out now in the States, but Atari are putting out a new version of the Atari 2600, which is the 2600 Plus.